think that's on video. It's hard to see up here. Yeah, it is. Getting some sun on my hairy legs. Hopefully you can hear me alright. It's a bit of wind. Got a bit of an easterly coming in. I'll turn the phone a bit actually. Just got to tuck my tissue into my knickers so it doesn't blow away. So that's what happens on the front of the boat. But I'm determined to get a bit of sun. I think the sunlight helps if you've had a virus or flu or a cold. It's good to get out in the fresh air. I'm waiting for the water heater to heat up so I can get a shower because I absolutely stink. I know I do because I can smell myself. And that's always a good indication, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, I was banished to Canada when I was 15. Not because I stank. As you all know, I went to private school and I bloody hated it. Bloody hated every moment of it. And I know one of the subscribers, Imogen, hello Imogen, she lives in Canada now. She went to Brighton and Hove High School and she used to come and play netball matches at my private school, like extracurricular, so I'm sure she can testify. Oh, it was awful, the school I went to. It was called St Mary's Hall. Anyway, it's a long story, but basically I ran away from home. I planned it all. But I didn't plan it very well. I ran away with a friend, who I will not name, because I think she works in the law profession now. She's doing quite well. Yeah, I packed a massive suitcase, and for some reason I took all my school books with me, because I thought, well, they're really expensive, and I better not lose them. I don't know why I took them. But we planned it all, that we were dropped off outside the school, and we just hoisted it. We went to London, and we stayed with her brother for a couple of nights. And the plan was to go to Soho and see if we could get a job in a brothel as cleaners or something. 15-year-old girls. Anyway, so we were missing for 3 days. And luckily a member of the public noticed us with our very conspicuous large suitcases in Soho in London, going in and out of brothels. And they phoned the police. Police turned up and they took us to Bow Street police station and obviously phoned my mum and dad, who were worried sick, and they shot off up to London to come and collect me, but which takes time. And while I was in Bow Street police station, they said, has anyone interfered with you? And I didn't know what they were talking about. I said, no, I don't. What do you mean? And then this lady came in the room. There were 2 male coppers and this one little tiny lady. She was really like butch but very short. She put some rubber gloves on. Well, I'll leave the rest to your imagination, in front of 2 fully grown male police officers. Anyway, I thought, oh my God. And then the woman said to them, nah, she hasn't been interfered with. I thought, well, I fucking have now. Anyway, it's one of those things, isn't it? My mum and dad turned up and they were like all full of kisses and stuff. I thought I'll be for the high jump on this one. But I wasn't. They said, we want to understand why you ran away. I said, well, I've been telling you for months I fucking hate that torture chamber, St Mary's Hall. I hate it. I hate it. And I said, if you send me back there, I will run away and I won't make the same mistakes. I'll take a smaller bag for a start. So they agreed. They said, yeah, all right. Where do you want to go to school? I said, the local state school, please. So I went to Lewis Priory. And it was all really good. I really enjoyed Lewis Priory to begin with. But the fly in the ointment was I'd got a sense of power for the first time over my parents. They were perpetually petrified that I was going to run away again. And I was just wild, you know. I mean, I wasn't taking drugs or anything like that, but I was doing what I wanted to do. I was staying out as late as I wanted. Suddenly, the boot was on the other foot. The dynamic had very much changed. Anyway, fast forward a couple of years, but due to the fact that I turned a little bit wild, is it still recording? I fell in with a bad crowd, classic. And I had a particularly nasty boyfriend, really nasty, quite violent. Well, very violent, actually. Anyway, I only went out with him for about 3 weeks. My God, I had to live that one down for the rest of my life. In fact, one of the last conversations I had with my mother was on this boat. She came out to visit and she started bleating on about him. And I said to her, for God's sake, Mummy, I'm 43 years old and you're still going on and on and on at me about him. And I only went out with him for 3 weeks. Well, he was a right nuisance. He was a burglar. He was violent. God knows what he's up to now. He's one of these people who belongs in prison, if you know what I mean. I was only 15, don't know what I was thinking going out with him. And he was quite ugly as well. So, I mean, he didn't really have any redeeming features. He's the one who came to meet me outside the Slaughtered Lamb years ago and went, "Hello, I've come to see you." And I thought, "Oh, have you? Great." Anyway, my mother was a politician, as you know. And, I mean, he was causing merry hell round the town of Lewes, making all sorts of shit up about me. I became quite agoraphobic, actually, for 2 years, from when I was 15 to when I was 17. Anyway, eventually my parents said, "Oh, that's right." Because I was at the state school, there were some left-wing teachers, and they didn't like my mum. My mum was chairman of education in East Sussex. They thought they'd have a dig, and they thought I'd be a golden opportunity. And they seized the moment. They used to march up and down the high street. They had an effigy of my mother done up like the evil queen in Snow White, and they had the slogan, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the unfairest of us all?" And that was my mother. "Mont, mont, mont," they'd say. "Mont, mont, mont, out, 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 mont, mont, mont." You know, teachers wanted more pay or whatever. Anyway, they liked phoning the newspapers, and they phoned the News of the World and the Daily Mail, and they said, "We've received a tip-off from a very reliable source that Joan Mont is a cocaine drug smuggler." Well, my mother didn't know what cocaine was. She had to ask my dad, and he said, "Well, it's an illegal substance." She said, "What sort of illegal substance? Is it like the days of when we used to put hydrochloric acid down the toilet to clean a stain?" And he went, "No, you don't need to worry about what it is." He just said it's illegal. Anyway, he said I had to go and have a meeting with the headmistress and my parents at Lewes Priory. And they were all of the opinion, oh, well, the News of the World and the Daily Mail, they're all going to sink their teeth into Fiona. 15-year-old Fiona. So my dad said, best course of action is we take you out of Lewes Priory and we're going to put you in hiding in the countryside with a sort of an auntie, someone I didn't like and she didn't like me, and you and your mother are going to go and stay with this auntie for 3 days while I growl at the Daily Mail and the News of the World and get them to go away. I said, oh, for God's sake, really? He said, no, honestly, it's for the best. It's not your fault, but it's for the best. I know what these national newspapers are like. So I had to go and stay in the countryside with this woman she wasn't really my auntie, she was a mate of my mum's. I never took to her, and she certainly never took to me. I think she was mates with Lady C, actually. I think. I seem to remember her going on about Lady Colin Campbell all the time, but I could be wrong on that one. Anyway, so I come back after the 3 days, and these teachers, and I'm sure it was left-wing teachers having a go, always ringing the newspaper, always ringing. And then I had this ex-boyfriend running around doing all God knows manner of what all over the town. And it was nothing to do with me. I wouldn't go out the house, actually. And eventually one day my dad said, well, it's not getting any better and it's affecting your mother's political career, so we've made a decision. We're going to send you off to Canada to go and stay with your cousins. Well, I was 15. I wasn't very happy about the prospect of it. I said, well, why? I haven't done anything wrong. He said, I know you haven't, but you're a target. You're a political target. I thought, well, I couldn't give a crap about politics. What's the matter with these people? Why are they picking on me as a child? This is why I don't like people picking on Nigel Farage's kids, Tony Blair's kids, Donald Trump's kids. I don't like people picking on people's kids because of politics, because the parent is a politician. Different matter if the kid themselves has done something. That's a whole other ballgame. But to just blame an offspring because a parent is an outspoken or vocal political person or whatever species, persuasion. Anyway, that's what they did. Took me to Heathrow Airport, and I went through security, and I thought they were right behind me, and they weren't. I went through. I remember my daddy, his dying day, he'd say, Fiona was so brave. She went through security, she didn't even look back. She just, tough kid, got on the plane. Well, he couldn't have been more wrong. I turned round and they weren't there. I was like, oh my God, where am I? And I just sat down. I thought, I don't know what to do or where to go. Heathrow is massive. Anyway, I sat there for about an hour because they got me there loads early. And I thought, well, I can't just not get on the plane. How would I get back to Brighton? What would I say to them? And I figured it out. There were TV screens, and I asked somebody, and I found my way onto the right plane. And I went and lived in Canada with my cousins. But I was supposed to go for 6 months, and I went for 5. I just wanted to go home in the end. I said to them, no, I really want to go back. So I went back to Brighton, and I became agoraphobic because this no-mark ex-boyfriend of mine was still there. He used to like ringing up in the middle of the night, and when I'd be the one answer the phone, and he'd go, ah! He'd just scream down the phone. Or sometimes he'd go, I'm going to come and pour petrol on you while you're asleep and set fire to you and your parents. So I had the fear of him, and my father had scaffolding on either the front of the building or the back, having it fixed up perpetually. I'm in the perfect way for him to break in. This was before the burglary in 1987. So not only did I have the things going bump in the night from the hauntings and fucking ghosts and poltergeists and that, I had this bloody horrible psychotic ex-boyfriend. I mean, really, he was a troubled kid, and he had serious problems, and he was in and out the nick a lot. Thank God he's in prison for a bit now. Have a few months rest. But you guys probably know what it's like. Get a small town, you start getting some twat causing you crap like that. It wasn't till I got a boyfriend from Brighton, he was a big guy, that this little no-mark, sort of like a little coward, scurried away. Didn't want to take on anyone from Brighton, you know, people in Lewis. Brighton's the big town. So anyway, yeah, eventually he disappeared, actually. Thank God. So yeah, that was a story of me being... if you read my wiki page, apparently... when I was 15, I was also manager of a business centre or something. I mean, they skip out like 7 years, so do the newspapers. It's just like, oh, shit. They always say I got expelled from St Mary's Hall as well, and I wasn't. When I went on that ITV programme, Too Posh to Pay, I said I hate that bloody school, and it went out of business about 6 months later. But before that, I went down there and I said I want my school records to prove that I was not expelled, and they were like all full of P's and Q's. Oh, you weren't expelled, Fiona. We'll give you your records. Please don't say anything bad about the school on telly because we're a different animal. And I said, I appreciate you want to keep your jobs and stuff, but I'm not going to not say that school at that time was bloody awful. It was bloody awful. Absolute con artists they were that ran that school. Anyway, so that's my tale of how I left St Mary's Hall, went to Lewis Priory, and ended up in Peace River, Alberta. And actually, Canada is a wonderful country. It's just so different. It's so big. The roads are so wide, and I love the submarine burgers. Anyone here in Europe who thinks that the subs are like the subs in Canada, oh, you've got to be kidding. Submarine burgers in Canada are legendary, and I love them. I'd give anything to have a proper submarine burger, proper soft roll, not this cutty mouth, crunchy crap they serve up here in Europe and England. It's not the same at all. And they'd microwave them as well. Anyway, never mind all that. So, and I'd go on snowmobiles, and there were bears there, and it was amazing. And I lived in a big log cabin with my cousins that they built themselves. That's a whole other story itself. And they're amazing people, my cousins. They're actually it's my mum's cousin and her husband. Yeah, I'll do a whole video about Canada at some point. But in the next one, I think I don't know why, these random things come to mind, and I just remembered this morning I cut my own thumb off. Not today, years ago, and it grew back. So, where's that tissue gone now? Oh, God. Little elastic. Yeah, I did. And what's more, my boss cut his thumb off as well, but he stuck his back on. So how's that? Claim to fame. I'll tell you about that in the next one, how I cut my thumb off. Good grief. Can't see the stop